Maybe. I don't know. Let's make sure we're live. Live and alive. It is fun. I need to clean my glasses. Give me a moment. There we go. Oh, everything's all HD. Can I change that from here? Hang on. Can I? No, I can't. Damn. Oh. Boop, boop, boop. That's going to be annoying. I can see my own chat. Oh well. Let's play a cute little loop of music in the background that you guys will never have heard before. Where is it? Here. Hey, the stuff. Marvelous. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna turn it down a bit. You have a question. What's your question? What am I doing with my life? No, go on. Yeah. Go on, find a question. You could pull it out of anywhere. Don't pull it out of anywhere. That's not a good idea. Don't do that. Or do that. Depends. What's the Sean character all about? The what? What do you mean, character? Loop. What do you mean, the character? Character. I'm me. You are you. Do you mean the little hooded dude with the pimp hat? That's... yeah, is it the Wizrobe? Because that's something I just did because of... out of boredom. Alright, that's a story. So, Harry became known as the legal mage. So, I made, for myself, the economics Wizrobe. And then I made the legal Wizrobe. And the baking Wizrobe. And the posting memes Wizrobe. And it's kind of snowballed into everybody has a Wizrobe now. There's a game maker Wizrobe for Jordan. You know, it was a little bit of fun. You still need to set that as your avatar. I made that for you out of love and kindness. I'll get you a close up of the face at some point tonight. Right, so we do have some questions previously. It's okay. So one of the questions. This is from I don't know how to pronounce this. Cumulative? Right? Maybe? Kind of? I don't know, it's Q.mulative. So I shall call you Quebec. Yes. This question from Quebec. What's the game you're proudest to have worked on? And therefore why? See, pride in the product depends on whether or not it was really successful. I've yet to actually release a product. Most of my uni products were train wrecks because the team didn't know what they wanted to make, and because they didn't know what they wanted to make, they didn't know who it would be for, and it kind of snowballed from there. Like being told 2 weeks before the deadline that the second level is going to have a completely different gameplay style to the first level, therefore diluting the focus of the game, was the most aggravating experience, because not only did I have to program something entirely new 2 weeks before a deadline, test it, bug prevent it, do all that kind of maddening stuff, I had to try and explain to them that that's not gonna get us higher marks, and it didn't. But in terms of the game I'm proudest to have worked on, it would be the game I'm working on now, that in the background, very quietly, there is music of. Wink wink, nudge nudge. And yeah, my wonderful composer, he made that a long time ago now. But yeah, I would say proud of that one, because I know what it is, who it's for, how I'm going to push it. I just need the money to do it. You know, that's what I'm proudest of working on. An idea that is mine, that is something I am happy to work on. That's the clutch with game development. Is that in a lot of different ways you have to be happy to work on this idea. Like, Max, you said earlier today to me that you just want your game released now because you've been doing it for so long and you just want to move on to something new. You want to expand your business. You want to take on client work. You want to do some other ideas. You know, that's... everybody's going to feel like that. Unfortunately. You know, you wanted to feel better about the product, you know, after you've... How long have you been working on White Circle? This will be an interesting response. I want to know. How long have you been working on that? Oh yeah, you wouldn't do it if you didn't love it. You know. Since November, so a good 6 months. 6-7 months now? That's really quick turnaround, actually. But I suppose if you're working on one small product that never... See, I've been working on this game for 2 years. Near enough now. And the prototype is only just coming together because I haven't had the time. You've had the time. See. I suppose a big thing to consider with being proud in something is you have to have the time to really sit down and do it. But then you've also got to have the time to understand why you're doing it. If you don't know why you're making a game, then I don't know what to tell you. And the other preloaded question I had is actually to do with my eyesight. What's it like being colorblind? Hey Liam. What's it like being colorblind? It's being colorblind. I don't know how to word this, because we had this discussion in Discord, and I've had this discussion on Twitter, and I've had it on forums. This is a very difficult thing to explain. It's no different than being normally sighted. Because only you see in that certain way. Yes, it'll scroll. Because I look at the world through what everybody else assumes is a defect. And have you been making him eat deep dish pizza? See, me being colorblind is what I call normal, because for 19 years of my life I didn't know, and that's the first problem. I wasn't, for all the NHS eye tests and all these kind of things, I didn't know I was colorblind. Everyone just thought I was stupid. And it's strange to think that now, after 21 years of life, I've only known for less than 2 years that I'm colorblind. But it's something in the context of games that I've expressed this before. There has to start being accessibility. You know, some games by chance can be played by blind people. They can be played with people with physical issues. They can be played by anybody. But the key problem is that when we went from 8-bit to 16-bit, that opened up a whole load of colours. And then from 16-bit to 32-bit, and then as things went into 3D, then we kind of moved ahead to 480 and 720 and then 1080, and it was the jump to HD where I noticed that, especially as we hit 1080 and in the past couple of years, some games are harder to play, not because they're difficult or poorly made, but because I can't see what's on the screen. And that's a problem for someone like me who didn't know. So imagine if you didn't have the slap around the face that was the wake-up call that you're colorblind and you don't know, and you go out and you're under the impression that HDR is the best thing known to man and 4K is amazing, and you go get it and you see it's worse, because to my eyes HDR is inferior. You know, in terms of like how bright things are, yeah, it's certainly better, but in terms of, because there's more colour coming through, that's more opportunities for me to see the shades of colour that are identical. So for me, dark green and brown, as you know it, is the same in my eyes. So if something has lots of shades of brown and lots of shades of dark green, it will kind of become just one colour and one blob on the screen. So object definition becomes impossible, and it just kind of snowballs from there. So the big example was Doom 2016, a great game, but I never would have been able to beat it if I couldn't turn on colorblind mode, because of the colour red covering most of the screen. So it's not that hard to implement either, I don't think. You just change some hex values. But it's a case of, can you believe that we're at a point where I get to sit down and say, oh cool, HDR, and everyone's sat going, oh my god, it looks so great, and I'm sat looking at it going, wow, it kind of looks, yeah, looks worse. Thanks. High CPU usage detected. You may experience performance issues. How do I have... Okay. But yeah, being colorblind is like being regularly sighted, except there's going to be a point where either the industry starts making sure people can play their games, or we end up going in a loop. And because I'm dreading, now that we know Scorpio is going to like really push 4K and HDR and all that stuff, I'm dreading the moment that we end up with HDR and 4K as the minimum. Like there'll be no option for 1080, at which point I'm out in the cold, because I won't be able to play most games unless they have a colorblind mode. Even then, I've yet to play a game that supports HDR and be able to play it in HDR with colorblind mode on. So I don't know how colorblind mode would affect HDR, because that's a wider range of colour. So I don't know if that would even be a solution. I may have to... I'll do some research into that at some point. And I'm watching Max go nuts in the Discord. So... yeah, that's the two big questions I had. Like, what are you proud of working on, and what's it like being colorblind? It's fun, really. I like it. So yeah, you can ask me anything about economics, you can ask me anything about gaming, my terrible eyesight. Yeah, you can even ask me questions in context to your own projects. I can speak English. What is the single biggest mistake I see in indie Kickstarters? Ooh. Indie Kickstarter? So by indie... Okay, Liam. By indie Kickstarters, do you mean stuff like actual indies, or big name developers going independent? Those are two different things. Also, I know these... I know this loop is incredibly short, but I like it. I suppose if we say indie Kickstarters... Okay, let's do both. The big problem with the big guys like Keiji Inafune, Koji Igarashi, the people doing Project Rap Rabbit, about them doing indie Kickstarters is that they have always been based around a previous game. So Yooka-Laylee, based around Banjo-Kazooie, Bloodstained, Castlevania, Mighty No. 9, Mega Man. Hell, Shovel Knight, Mega Man. And the thing is that those will have their definitive audience, and one or two things will happen. And we talked about this last week in the stream that's currently lost at EFA. You'll either get everything perfectly right and deliver exactly what you promised, and then end up with the rest of the gaming media panning it, and you succeeding in your job of giving the people you wanted to play it what they wanted, or you'll end up doing what Mighty No. 9 did and giving the people who wanted it something they didn't want. That's the big problem with the big guys, because the big guys forget that they were part of a team that made these great games. They weren't what made the great games. Like Keiji Inafune, for example, he just coloured in Mega Man. You know, and yet he went off and designed a game. And that didn't really work out. There may have been other factors, but it didn't work out. The other thing with indie Kickstarters is... towards total beginners, that usually means a fully funded project. That's slightly harder to pinpoint because... Okay, the first thing, because you're little, who the hell knows who you are? That's the first problem. No one knows who you are. And your game, if you're not going to at least slightly riff off something that's older and go for the nostalgia card to draw in that immediate target market, you're going to be... you're going to have one hell of a hard sell. Because you don't have a name. You might have a couple of games, but you don't have a name, so you have to really push. Now, there's one Kickstarter, Eagle Island, that I funded lately that only wanted £20,000. And that's just one guy, I think, making that game. But he did it because he reached out to people who could, like YouTubers, and mostly YouTubers, who could present the game, like have a playable demo or a prototype, and present it out there, and get to their audience. And their audience, especially because he targeted YouTubers who were big fans of the genre that his game was going to be. So his game was a Metroidvania. So target the people who love Metroidvanias. They get their game out there because they love that game. And then it reaches their audience. And their audience likes what they like. And then it kind of snowballed from there. And then they share their friends, and it kind of spreads out like a little wave. Some people don't do that. That's the first problem. Again, it's knowing who your game is for. The second problem is being a little too bold with the money. Or not being bold enough. This is something we're going to go into on Tuesday, but let's say you wanted £20,000, right? £20,000. Does that cover all the people you need to hire, all the potential problems, all the money you may need if something goes wrong, legal fees? The little guys don't often estimate correctly. Now, I would say overestimate, but don't overestimate to the point where you're asking 1.1 million. Like Project Rap Rabbit is. So yeah, the two things they do wrong is not target the right people to help get their game out there. Like YouTube is the biggest resource for that. And the other thing they don't do is budget correctly. Because so many little guys just disappear, don't they, with the money. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. I just had to think that through in my head. Yeah. The marketing and getting the Kickstarter known, because you don't have a name of your own yet. And, unfortunately, money. Money. Is that a satisfactory answer? Yeah. I like to think that's what they do wrong. They could also just be fraudulent. You know, don't be a fraud. You know, don't take the money and run. Don't promise something you can't deliver as well. If you're an indie, make sure it's all feasible. Feasibility is a massive problem in the tech world. Yeah, I like it. Feasibility, money, marketing. How important is having a multiplayer component for a game's success? Okay. So I'm not a big multiplayer fan, but it depends. If it is something like a fighting game, so let's say ARMS, right? This is the most recent one because the Direct was a couple days ago. We didn't know anything about ARMS' online multiplayer. And because of that, everyone was kind of on the fence, or saying, nah. But then the Direct showed off everything about the online. And people were in, because a game like that, something that's inherently competitive, like a fighting game, a racing game, a shooter, the online component is what gives it longevity to a player. Because something like an inherent single-player adventure is just, you know, you go through and you're done, single player. But if it has a competitive nature to it, you'll want to compete. And while local multiplayer is still very much a thing, it's easier for people to just, not buy a second controller, unless you're on the Switch, and go online and do it with their friends. So I'd say it depends on the game. Yeah. It depends on a game. Because like a single player game, like Horizon or Zelda, that doesn't need online. But Mario Kart, ARMS, Destiny, that needs it. Is there anything in particular that's a red flag in smaller projects? Feature creep? That's the big problem. If your project keeps having ideas added to it and it goes nowhere, stop. If you're in the process of fully adding and implementing most of your features and you're heading into the testing phase and you have a new idea, stop. If you are hiring people who can't do the job, that's a big problem. Having the right talent, having a big enough team. But the big red flag, there is one, and it happened recently. I say recently. Project Cars. It promised a version of the game and got a lot of its funding from the promise of that one version of the game. That never happened. And they lied about it. They said it was going great for a good year, and then it turned around and, by the way, it's cancelled. And everyone was kind of like, oh. And there was no refund opportunity, there was none of that. The developers just kind of got money out of something and ran with it. So, in a smaller project, from a public standpoint, the big problem is when there's silence. If it's radio silence, especially if it's about a specific version of the game or a specific feature, worry. From an internal standpoint, if features keep getting added, or your boss keeps saying, change this, change this, change this, change this, especially as it gets closer to crunch time, probably tell them no. You know, feature creep, it's very hard to resist the urge to add something. But that's going to cost money, that's going to take resources, that's going to take time that you don't have. And in the modern age, a lot of games, bigger games especially, come out... Shut up, phone. A lot of games come out with features missing, features half-baked because of that very feature. Feature creep. That was a very long answer, wasn't it? Sorry about that. How do you find the right team? I know why Max is asking this. You find the right team sometimes by chance. Literally, you can find the right person just by randomly seeing them one day. The biggest thing you're going to have to do if you're expanding your business and trying to find the right people, look at their portfolios, get them to do small tests, interviews. Interviews are a big one, for a personality standpoint anyway. And if they're in the case of like small people who don't have much in the way of portfolio, still look, because some people can have not done a lot, but that not a lot can be amazing compared to someone who's done thousands of pages of work and it's all meh. Judge on quality, not quantity, is the first thing. And if they are a slow but thorough worker, by all means hire them if it's within your parameters. The other thing to really think about is whether or not you have the capacity for it. So if you're going to hire like the best 3D modeler, remember they will often charge based on their skill. So it comes down to your money. Oh, is being a separate entity, i.e. incorporated, a green flag for crowdfunding, even if a marginal benefit? I only ask because banks do favour incorporated businesses versus unincorporated businesses. So in terms of a game developer, would being a separate entity count as not under a publisher? Maybe? Okay, there's two ways to approach this question. This question's difficult because there's two ways to go about it. Because there's a standpoint of having a bigger company stand over you, and there is also the other standpoint of whether or not you're incorporated. For the focus of crowdfunding, the big green flag is honesty. Liam, I'm not an expert. The big green flag in crowdfunding is honesty. Be upfront. Don't... Max. The big thing is honesty. You have to be honest with the people buying the game. Or funding the game. But also remember, they are not investors. They do not own you. They do not own your soul. Some Kickstarters end with that kind of feeling that the people who funded it own you. That's not the case. They just gave you money to do what you want to do. But in terms of the green flag, it is marginal. Very marginal. Nobody from the standpoint of should I put into this project thinks about that. The only time anyone would ever look at your business structure is if you have a publisher. Like, we're going to go back to Mighty Number 9 a lot in the next 7 days, but Mighty Number 9 ended up with a publisher, I think, halfway through crowdfunding, and everyone kind of flipped because they felt that defeated the point. They said the entire idea of being independent was to not have that company overshadowing the idea. You know, crowdfunding is a very peculiar little bubble of the internet, because as I said, nobody cares about your business structure. They care about the person, the product, and how much money you want, and whether that's reasonable. Because a bank will look at your finances, your structure, profitability. Someone looking at a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo won't. Yeah, that answers the question. For crowdfunding, no. It's not important unless you have a publisher over you. If that makes sense for you, Harry. I'm just thinking about these all as I go. I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, so being incorporated for a bank, yes. Crowdfunding, no, because no one gives a damn. Ah. I'm doing very well for very on-the-fly economics questions. That was a difficult one. Because as I said, it depends. What's the record for the fastest turnover from conception, so the idea, that paper on a desk as it were, to successful release for a game? I'm not talking about asset flips. An original design indie. You can have something completely unrelated. It helps my brain unwind. The fastest turnover from conception to release for an indie game. Well, you know there's a joke about Kickstarter that it will be delayed at least once. Because Shovel Knight was delayed, Yooka-Laylee was delayed, Might No. 9 was delayed, Bloodstained's been delayed, Hat in Time's been delayed. Yeah, lots of things have been delayed. Oh, man. You know, the immediate idea coming to mind, because I was just talking about it earlier, was Max's game, White Circle. Because he started that in November. Independent game. Fastest turnover. I don't know. In terms of time, I would say 6 months is the minimum. Like, you need at least 6 months to bake it, because all the time testing, making the game, assets, marketing. Indie game, not FIFA. If you want fastest turnover for a game ever. Oh no. I'm wrong. Five Nights at Freddy's. That was incredibly fast, because that started like October 20, was it 2014? And then he released like a new one every month. Like by like 7 months later, wasn't there like 4 of them? I'm gonna look. I remember it was kinda crazy. Because the man didn't sleep. 5 Nights... I mean, you can have your opinion of it, but... Video games, main theories. 2014, 2014, 2015, 2015. Well, it's still an indie game, and it's an original idea. August 8th, 2014. How long was it for Needhog? They also pumped out the second one pretty fast. Well, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was November 10th, 2014, and the first one was released August 8th, so it took about 3 months. Oh yeah, for doing it solo. And yo, props to him, because he took negative feedback and ran with it. Needhog video game. Oh. The game was made... Needhog was made over 4 years. First exhibited in April 2010. Came out 2014, very start of 2014. And the sequel's coming out this year. So I'd still say Five Nights at Freddy's has the record for fastest turnover for anything. I've been in jobs longer than it takes between those games. And there was one in 2016. Or was it the start of this year? So sister location? Five Nights at Freddy's 4, I think, was very end of 2015. And there was the RPG one as well. Yeah, wow. There's like 6 Five Nights at Freddy's games, and there's all the fan games. Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. If you count that. Anyway, Fogsight. Stretch. Stretching. I can talk for a surprisingly long time. See, I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense. I just speak. but I can see English. What counts as a game, though? How long does a game normally take? I just looked in off topic and I saw an image of a gecko. The real way to market your game is to have loose strands of law that game theory can cover. Yeah. Crossy Road is 3 people and took 3 months. Flappy Bird was like 2 days? Maybe even a month? It made money in 2 days. How long does a game normally take to make? Depends on the game. So your app, you took 7 months to make that. Okay, so you want to say a kind of complex game. Months, because even pixel art takes time. My best bet would be to say for a phone app, I would say, unless you're doing what Nintendo does and releasing like a proper quality game, no offense to you, Max, but you know what I mean, like a more gamey game, I would say 6 months. So I think you've done it about right, because your game's pretty simple. It doesn't have much in the way of mechanics. Something like Super Mario Run, Fire Emblem Heroes, maybe a year. A fully fledged game. Ooh. Depends on what you're putting it on. So we're not talking asset flips, because yeah, I could do that now by the end of the stream. AAA budget, a couple years. Even though AAA budget doesn't mean anything really. Trying to think. A competitive game with all the balance in, like a fighting game or a racing game, that can take a couple years. A more simplistic, like platformer in 3D can take 2 years probably, if you're quick about it. 2D game, 1.5 years, maybe a year if it's super simple. You know, the shortest time you're looking for a fully fledged game is at least a year, because no one's a miracle worker. But it's going to take you at least a year. Depends on what you count as starting. You know, some people say pre-alpha footage for this game, and it's like, well, no, alpha is when you're starting to develop the game itself. Pre-alpha is paper on a desk. You know, that's my saying. So do you count from pre-alpha? Do you count from when you actually start making it? Good choice. I'm going to change up the music. I'm going to find something semi non-copyright. I don't really have anything. You know what, let's use this. It's another piece from my game. Yeah. Hello! Hi, Afro. How's your spaghetti? Alpha implies that you have something that's on some level functional, yes. Yes, it does. Alpha is the process of, like, prototyping, making a game, adding elements. Beta is when everything's done and you're starting to test it and starting to weed things out. Pre-alpha, like all those first-person shooter games that come out and say, oh, it's pre-alpha footage. So it's not. If it was pre-alpha, I could take a picture of my desk right now and that would be pre-alpha footage. You know? That's pre-alpha. I mean, maybe some companies consider pre-alpha but yeah, if alpha is when you're adding functionality, then pre-alpha can't be the footage they're showing off. Ah, it's fun. But yeah, that's that. Steam's weak, sales are heavy, there's bugs in the code already, Afro spaghetti. Wow, Liam. Wow. I'm gonna... At what point should you show a demo tech for a publisher? I mean, to show it to GD. Assuming it's your choice to show it when you're ready. I can't rap. It depends when you're ready. Like, Dead Space was a hallway, a monster, and a kind of... Also, what's the best kind of spaghetti? Linguine. The Dead Space was just a hallway monster, a little bit of programming, and a character. But you know, you don't need much for a demo. Just to get the core concept across, really. Splatoon started off as 2 cubes shooting at each other. Let that sink in. And that was greenlit. So, you know, it's whenever you feel like... Okay. Whenever you feel that your game demo, your prototype, sufficiently backs up the GDD enough, that's when you should show it off to a publisher. That is the best advice I can give on that. Whenever you feel it matches your vision to the point where you can confidently sell it with those 2 pieces of information. Bonus points if you don't even have to say anything. You know, if it sells itself based on the paper and the demo, then you've done well. I'm helpful! This is fun. I'm enjoying this. Man, oh man. What are the best ways to approach a publisher? Alright, this is literally dependent on the publisher. But, like, some have contact forms on their website where they'll just ask for some information. Some, if you go to, like Snipper Clips, for instance, because I know all about this game's development. 2 brothers were demoing that at, I think, maybe EGX in 2014, and a Nintendo rep came up and said they wanted it, just because they saw the demo and played it, and it became a Switch launch title. You know, but going to events like that is expensive. You have... It really does depend on the publisher. Some will come up to you at events, some will have contact forms, some you can just... they'll just see it on Twitter. Some instances that happens. Or during your crowdfunding campaign, some will come along and pick it up, you know, if it picks up enough steam and they notice it. You know, that happened with Ukulele. So yeah, just depends on the publisher. Like, I know Team 17 has a contact form. So yeah, there's that. Depends who you want to publish the game. How do I approach press? How do I get press to want me? Don't push it. Is the first thing. Don't be forceful. So I was helping someone with a press kit last night, maybe. I don't remember. And good grammar. Be concise with... in an email to a fan site or something like that. Be concise with what your game is. Sell it in, I would say, 2 or 3 paragraphs at the most. Short paragraphs. Always put the unique selling points forward. And in the subject line, the way I typically do it is, I would say, have the name of your game. Hang on, because I wrote this down. Have the name of the game, say it's a press release, and say what platforms it's for. Because that right there is saying, this is my game, this is what it's for, this message is for you. And then they will look through the information you put in there, like trailers, press images, your paragraphs, and if they can write something up from it, great. If there's enough there that they feel, you have to remember that press ultimately is about the ad revenue. So with that, they have to feel your story can generate clicks. So make it stand out. Sell your game in as short a time as possible with your writing and your trailer. But make sure you send it to the press who will respond positively to it. The press who have the appropriate website or reader base. That's pretty much it. Just be nice about it. Be concise, be nice, and be precise. Put that on a t-shirt. Be nice, be concise, and be precise. What about itch.io? Is it viable for an indie developer to feed himself using it alone? Itch.io is it's coming up as a big thing because of YouTube. Shock and horror. Itch.io is... You could, but you've got to do a lot there. And it's not as big as the alternatives. The thing with PC development is you have to remember it is a very open platform. You know, everyone likes to say, oh, PC gaming, that means Steam. No, it doesn't. There could be literally hundreds and thousands of marketplaces because it's an open platform. The PC was not designed for gaming. Gaming just happens to coexist. You could, in theory, feed yourself. However, I would not risk that, personally. Because itch, as it stands, is young, comparatively, and I think its user base is limited to those who go on YouTube and want a quick video of something on itch.io. If you're releasing on PC, I would say go for the bigger thing. Is there any downside to trying to release on every platform possible at the same time? So the three you listed there are all PC, with the exception of Facebook. Really, that's kind of PC. Yes and no. If your build of your game is compatible across all of them, as an indie with minimal optimization, so like you're not going to be able to port a game over back in the day between the Xbox 360 and the PS3. You've got to realise that on PC there is probably no danger to that except the fees and how much money the platform takes from each sale. That's going to be a problem. On terms of hardware platforms, probably not a brave idea because there's a lot of money in that. Like Sony is thousands and thousands and thousands to submit your game, and there's the cost of the dev kits. On PC, it's a little safer, assuming you go for the right marketplace. So like Steam is the big one, Humble Bundle, and Facebook, if your game would fit there for the casual player who's just browsing Facebook. You know, you have many options. I wouldn't release on everything. That's pretty much the answer to that question. Explain economics stream. What is it you specialise in? I specialise in economics. Ta-da. One thing that came up in the general chance today to value of sites like Indie Database is a good idea to spam every index game site out there even if you can get 10 views each. What's the cost? Do you have to pay to get on Indie Database? Is there a fee? Because if there is, then there is a downside. But if you're gonna get 10 views each, 10 views each is still 10 potential sales. You gotta think about it like that. You gotta be an optimist. You gotta be glass half full. So those 10 views from every index game site, if your game shows up absolutely everywhere, and it only gets like 5 views per site, that's still 5 potential sales. And then you gotta remember, someone looking at it could tell their friends. That could be more sales. It's doubtful, but it could be. So I would do it if there is no financial downside to it. If it's going to cost you a lot of money that you'll probably never make back, don't do it. But if there's a chance of doing it and it benefits you, but there's low risk, it's all risk versus reward. Question where submitting to 50 plus sites would focus on... Oh man, going through 50 plus sites at once would be a day and a half of work at least. See, marketing is a... What does the database... Is it literally just a site? Is it just an index? Does the index get shared anywhere? Does it show up via search engines? Okay, so if we just say it just exists as a database, no, don't do it. Because those 10 plus views do not equal 10 plus sales. Those 10 plus views equal money and time spent for maybe a slim chance of money back. But if you could market more efficiently through like social media with appropriate hashtags, for instance. Twitter, if you look at it in terms of hashtags, is a glorified database. So if you were to say put the right hashtags, those will act as little pointers for someone else, and they'll see it. And that's going to be a much wider range of people because hashtags are universal. But if you had to, between press releases and that, I'd say take press releases. Because a press release, you're communicating your idea directly. A press release is you controlling what you say to the press, and then they regurgitate that out to the people who would be interested. And it is more direct, it is more straightforward, it's probably more efficient, it's definitely more efficient. So I'd say the database sites have merit, kinda, but you'd be better served going the traditional route, at least at this time. Any recommendations on what to do on a GDD, like be concise or what to include and what not to include? So guess what my university said? They said 12 pages, lots of images. And no, I'd still say 10 to 12 pages, maybe. That might be stretching it a bit. Summarize gameplay, summarize the mechanics, summarize the story. Be short with the story. Go over any of the characters, character design, who's doing what. The big thing for a GDD is because that's going to be shown to a publisher. So your GDD will have to show how you're going to use the target platform's hardware, so the controller or the keyboard. Map that out on an image of it. And then explain what each of those buttons does. Explain your mechanics. Explain the structure of the game. Explain how you progress through the game. Explain the goal of the game. Give a little story background. Give an average game length. It's a good idea to tell the publisher how long your game is going to be. Even if it's just in terms of levels. Say if you don't know how long all the levels are going to be yet. Or you don't know how long the average playthrough is going to be, which you won't. Just say it's going to have 12 levels, 15 levels, 20 levels, 500 levels. You know, average in X length. You know, intended to be 5 minutes long each. And always explain the goal of the game. What are you doing in the game? Because if the game doesn't have a point, well, you don't have a game, really. But a GDD is all about setting out the rules. And the publisher will want to see the rules, because when they see the rules of your game, and what you do, and how you do it, they will very quickly in their head calculate, is this going to be worth putting under our portfolio and risking our money on. So, being concise and explaining thoroughly are two different things. Everyone says, oh, be concise, that means explain it in as fewer words as possible. No. For a GDD, I would say explain it as efficiently as you can, but as thoroughly as you can. So don't say, oh, you can... but let's just make up a game idea right now. Say, you play a game as a penguin, you have to slide down the side of a mountain, and you have to collect fish on the way down. Why are you collecting the fish? How do you control sliding down the mountain? You know, you could say, oh, the gameplay is you are a penguin, you slide down the side of a mountain, you collect fish. That's concise. Doesn't tell them anything though, does it? Why are you collecting the fish? How do you control the penguin? What's the goal of it all? You know. But don't include... I wouldn't say don't include something. Because you never know to what publisher what's going to be useful. Don't ramble. Don't do what I do when I'm thinking out loud. Don't ramble. Don't put an idea in that you aren't sure of. If you can't thoroughly explain an idea, then why is that idea going into the game? If the idea you are putting down on that paper has, you know, doesn't fit or doesn't flow out onto the page, don't put it in. As I said at the start of this stream, when I was in my first year, they said make a second level with a completely different gameplay style. That's not helpful. You know, that is diluting your experience. Do not dilute the quality of your game. Do not dilute the quality of your GDD. My brain just goes into 500 different directions at once. So be concise but thorough, and do not ramble. And if the idea and mechanic or the concept you are currently writing down doesn't just flow out, and if you read it back or show it to someone else and they say, what are they doing? And what's this for? Why is this here? Then don't include it. Yeah. Always put visual aid on your GDD as well. Reading something is one thing, showing it is another. Because yes, your GDD and your demo will be at the same thing, but concept art, put that in a GDD, I suppose. Not lots of it, but some. It helps visualize the concept. I have Facebook notifications. You know, stuff like that. Stuff, as I said with the question about the demo, your GDD and your demo have to help sell each other. So what's in the GDD has to back up what the demo's doing, and the demo has to back up what's in the GDD. But the GDD will have more content than the demo, because it's the entire game. There you go. Does that make sense? Good. Woo! Wow. Jumping back. Oh, hang on. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Play. Okay, so that was that. Hope that's helpful. Whew. Be concise, be nice, and be precise. Yeah, do that. The ancient phrase, be concise, be nice, and be precise. Yeah, you can ask hard questions. I like a challenge. Will I make that a t-shirt if you want? Can. I can make it a t-shirt. How long have I been? I've been going for an hour. I'm okay. Anything else? Yeah, you can do that. That's what I'm here for, isn't it? Unpaid advice. I've got it set to go to my local drive. I don't know which one, by the way, but it's going there. So if it doesn't, any sneak peeks to next week's topics? Oh, Mighty Number 9. Kickstarter. Mighty Number 9. Trying to think of any. Project Rap Rabbit. And there's one other one. Mr. Shifty. And oh, what's the fourth one? Yeah. Mighty Number 9, Mr. Shifty, Project Rap Rabbit, and I don't know if there's a fourth case study for next week, but it's all to do with funding and PR, so that's going to be fun, isn't it? Funding and PR. That'll be on Tuesday, I think. So you know, good PR, funding. Did you miss everything? Kind of. Any tips for people who fail their Kickstarter? Honestly? Financially or critically? Okay, let's do both. Let's do what I normally do. Let's do both. So, financially, if your Kickstarter fails, not the end of the world. Yes, you have no money, but you can always take feedback from that and try again. Have fun, Afro. If you run out of money, don't worry. You can always give it another shot. That's the first thing. And correct what you did wrong the first time. You could If you made a lot of noise, you could always try a publisher. But the idea is to never throw an idea away. You know, do the Nintendo thing, where ideas just go off and become entirely random things. Like there was meant to be a diorama-based Zelda game that became Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. Just, you know, even if that idea doesn't work, you can always come up with another one. Keep that one on the back burner for later in life. You know? Never stop being creative. I know that's so corny and inspirational, but never stop being creative. Because creativity is what sells. Apart from graphics. But creativity in indies is the key thing. If you're creative, you will be successful. Any advice on managing a dev team? Yes, be strict. Be a hard ass. Don't be a dictator. Be stern but nice. But also, do not rush people. Because, you know, Mass Effect Andromeda is a prime example of what happens if you rush. Sonic 06. You know, as Miyamoto says, a delayed game is eventually good. A rushed game is bad forever. If it's going to take more time, give it more time. If it's within your parameters, at least. And creating a team for a game jam. Find who you don't have. Find whatever skill set no one you can currently have can fill. It's pretty simple stuff. Many people are multi-talented. It's just finding the right people. Yeah, Liam, just do an @everyone command and annoy them all. I really do like this music. So fun fact, I met this composer just on a fan site. So not only a fan site is good for getting your game out there, they're also good for finding people. Because I just said, does anybody do anything about music? And this guy's a music teacher. And, you know, turns out he's very good. He's never done video games before. Usually does TV and tutoring. This is the first time he's done video game music. I like it. It's cute. Really? You like it? You know what? I'll tell him and I'll give him a nudge. He's only done like 2 half tracks. He's got to make them loop. But this one's Forum Forest and the other one is Desert Database. You know, the only reason I decided my game was going to be 3D is because this music fits a 3D style more. That's literally it. I'm all about how a game feels. How the audio and the visuals feed back to the user. Any other questions? Because I've been going for an hour and 15 minutes now. Are there any guns? Are there any good online resources for someone that is starting to get into economics? Yes. One thing we read when we were studying A-level economics was The Economist, which is a blogging site, magazine, economics, newspaper, it's all sorts. The Economist is good. Just keeps you up to date on what's going on in the world. And you can apply your theory through that. It's kind of like... maybe some online educational sites, maybe? Really? I can't think of much. Maybe some YouTube videos. Maybe. And there's me. Hi. That's about it, actually, I think. Educational sites, The Economist, and YouTube, if you're lucky. You'd be surprised, it's a very large area. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's pretty much actually. Unless you want to read a lot of newspapers. Liam asks the important questions in life. Like, where is the bathroom? And how much is parking? Two very, very important questions. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about it. You know, you just kind of... You can't force yourself to enjoy economics. That's the price to use bathrooms. Yep. You can't force yourself to like economics. It's something that comes to you. It's like people who say they don't like maths. Economics is the same. It either clicks or it doesn't. So, you know. That's why I'm here, so no one else has to learn it, because I've already learnt it all. I can give you the lovely, wonderful advice. Yep. And I'm joining your Steam group while I'm here. That's not right. Is that right? Nope. Time to play Remember My Password. I don't have Steam installed on my phone. I fixed it, don't worry. What we're gonna do? Yay! Just realised I can't log into Steam because I don't have mobile authentication on my new phone yet. Any specifics for marketing a game for different countries? Alright, this is going to be anecdotal, but I love this because it's absolutely true. So, there's a website I visit that has constant bickering about the Japanese sales charts every week. And they say they have no taste in games and this and that and the other. And not realising it's a completely different culture. Some stuff flies over there that wouldn't over here and vice versa. You know, would you believe a game about shooting each other as squids is incredibly popular in Japan? Or Monster Hunter is massive in Japan? Dragon Quest? You know, that kind of thing? Nobody really thinks about it that way. The big one is Japan and the West. That is the massive difference. Europe's kind of in the middle. We kind of do a little of everything. But with marketing for every country, let's say Europe. Language. The cost of that. Publishing in each region, depending on the platform, may or may not require one or more versions to be submitted. If you're going to market your game in Germany, you need a separate age rating than you would have here in the UK and the US and Japan and Australia. So for every piece of marketing material, you would need a separate age rating. There is probably a few other smaller things, but the big one is the age rating and language barrier. And not offending people. Do not do anything remotely political in your marketing. Have no possible misconstruement. Just be about the game. But the expensive ones are the age ratings, because Peggy is expensive. So if you can, go through the IARC. If your game is not being released physically, use the IARC, because that kind of covers everything. But if it is being released physically, you have to go through Peggy, I believe. And the ESRB, and whatever Australia has. And I can tell you what Germany has. I have various game cases here, because European game cases come with those on. The USK. There you go. Don't be offensive. Language, age ratings. Every piece of material, marketing material requires an age rating. Oh, and don't lie. False advertising is a big problem. Don't do that. Magical. Yeah, that's any useful Twitter tools for marketing. Hashtags. You'll notice every single post by any games company has a hashtag. Either with the name of the game, or the indie dev hashtag, or anything like that. Because hashtags are pooled. So everything a hashtag is like a key in a database. I've used this anagram already. Anagram. Metaphor. So hashtags are basically a database. They are the keys. So when you click on a hashtag that says accounts. Give your game its own Twitter account. Give your studio its own Twitter account. Occasionally post the same stuff on those. The hashtag thing again. Schedule social media posts. Twitter has scheduled posts. If you use that, then you can kind of not worry about being at your phone all the time. That's a good one. So if you're going to have a scheduled announcement, like say, we're going to announce this thing about the game tomorrow, schedule a tweet for that exact time. Keeps it snappy, keeps it immediate, because not everybody follows you directly. Some people only keep up on games via Twitter, you know. But Twitter doesn't hurt. Just remember, as many politicians have found out, and many game developers themselves have found out, do not rant on your game's Twitter or your studio's Twitter like it's your personal Twitter. Remember to log out. I'm okay. But don't generate artificial buzz, because artificial buzz is obvious. It's like, oh my god, it's the greatest thing ever! You won't believe it! It's clearly fake. You know, don't force it. And don't try and go viral either. If you attempt to go viral, you will not go viral. If you reach 1,000 people, that's a success. You know. And again, do not offend people. On Twitter, that's very hard to do, but make it just about the game. Remember, be concise, be nice, and be precise. Oh, this is so becoming a t-shirt. In terms of Twitter, be nice is the main one. And I suppose being concise, because you've only got 140 characters. you can answer everything to do with marketing by be concise, be nice, and be precise. Welcome back, Harry. I've got Discord open and I'm looking at... Why is someone talking about brewing oil? Whatever. We've been here for an hour and a half. Yeah, wow. How to get into the co-optional podcast games lineup? I have no idea. I actually don't know. Hell if I know. Best thing you can do, really, is that's the same thing as what I said about Eagle Island, a game that I backed. When it comes to YouTubers, give your game to YouTubers who would like that game, who like that genre of game. They will then be more inclined to talk about it, present it on whatever their YouTube show is, and it will reach their audience, who are very likely to also like said kind of game, and it will go from there. So if your game isn't going to work for the co-optional podcast, which basically means if it's not a PC game, then don't bother. Don't try and force it. If it happens at that point. But don't go for the big guys, go for the little to medium guys. Like, you know how many Steam keys I get? Loads. Never use them all. But, hey, there you go. I can't believe I was able to give an answer about that. What kind of wizard am I? I'm a wizrobe. Yeah, that's that stutter. That's that. I have a stutter. Couldn't tell, could you? Woo! Is that everything then, really? I've been here for an hour and a half talking about economics. Woo! This is fun. What about revealing your game too soon and being copied? I've always had this mentality. How old is the human race? Do you really think there is a completely original idea left? The answer to the question is probably not. Your game is going to have something from some other game at some other point in history. That's just how it is. Gaming as a concept has existed for millennia. That's literally the best example I have. But if you reveal your game too soon, then there is that danger. But will they be able to give it the heart and the positivity and the enthusiasm that you give it? Because it's very obvious when someone is shamelessly ripping off something and when someone is putting their heart into it and doing something they want to do for the love of doing it. A copy is for money. The real thing is for love. That's also a t-shirt. You're welcome, Liam. But yeah, mobiles, that's going to happen anyway. Look at it this way, right? On mobile, a clone will show up in a matter of days. In fact, even like Splatoon, because that was such a big thing. There was a Chinese knockoff of that within months. You know, it's going to happen if it's big. If it gets attention, it will be cloned. But you cannot improve via cloning. A pure copy or a bootleg cannot be superior on the basis that the original thing has the heart and the soul and the enthusiasm and the dedication of the developer doing it because it is their vision. The only time something like remotely copies on something in any way can end up being superior is if it is taking ideas. Like my games, the way I look at it is I like, did this idea work in this game? If no, what kind of game could that work in? How could it be better doing that? You know, you can always improve on something, but you can never do it by copying. But yeah, iOS, mobile markets, and I suppose if you want to say Steam Greenlight, may it rest in peace whenever that dies eventually. It's a great big swimming pool full of homogeneous goods. Goods that have very low market value because they are not distinct. They have no brand. They are homogeneous. They're all not unique. So when do I get a free t-shirt, Liam? Be concise, be nice, and be precise. And the other one is... I've already forgotten. Oh yeah, a clone is for money, the real thing is for love. That's the other t-shirt. I can be a child. Nah, when I have money, I'll buy a t-shirt. Why not? Would a new system that replaces Greenlight improve things for indie developers? There's a difference between replacement and improve. My stance has always been Valve needs to actually hire people to do the job, because something that is community driven cannot sustain itself, because the community is going to be full of muppets. But Steam Direct can only replace Greenlight and be superior if the fee is enough to be a barrier, but not enough that it costs more than most console dev kits. Because if they go... Because PS4 dev kits are a couple of thousand. If they go for like $3,000 per game, Steam just lost its accessibility. Completely. Because at that point, it's cheaper to go buy a dev kit for a PS4. You know? So they have to balance it enough to be a barrier. But they also, I really think they should just get rid of community moderation. Because it can't sustain itself. You can't build a house on sand. You can only build a house on rocks. And the community is very fluid. Look at it this way, Greenlight's fee is $100. Is that an obstacle? No. Does that guarantee quality? No. $5,000. Problem. You know, that's... Honestly, I would... As weird as it may sound. Don't go for Greenlight and don't go for Direct until we know what they are. Like, my opinion is Steam is, like, off limits right now while it goes through this entire process. I think a studio did. Don't know which one. I don't remember, I wasn't really following it that much, I just remember they were killing it and I was like, yes, thank God. Raw Fury. Yeah. Facebook Game Room poised to compete with Steam eventually, would it though? Here's the thing, people like to say that, oh, PC gaming is Steam. No, it's not. Steam is a marketplace. Everyone was asking, like, what would happen if, like, Sony and Microsoft went digital only? The answer is, they would have no reason to keep retailers happy with physical copies. Their sales would be pure profit. And on their own marketplaces, like Sony said no to EA Access, which means the only marketplace on PS4 to buy PlayStation 4 games if there was no physical media would be PlayStation Store. And Sony would just abuse that and send prices as high as they could without making demand drop through the floor. And the people are asking, okay, but Steam's digital only, why is that got so many low prices? I said, because it's not a monopoly. It's not the only option on the hardware. There is no one hardware manufacturer to dictate PC gaming's market. It is just a marketplace, a service. There are others. There could be one that could show up one day and eclipse it. It's entirely possible. That's why its prices are so low. If Facebook Game Room... Okay, so you say Facebook Games and I think Farmville. Facebook's Game Room, like Steam, has a stigma to it. Steam's stigma is asset flips and no PR. Facebook's stigma is flash games and microtransactions. Microtransactions everywhere. For Facebook to compete with Steam, it would have to compete with Steam on even footing. It would have to have the games that Steam has, and it would have to do more for the consumers. That's just my opinion. With Disinity, you mean Destiny 2 coming to Blizzard? Do you think this will open the floodgates for Activision to start their own publishing platform? If EA did it and Ubisoft did it, Activision's gonna do it. So the answer to that question isn't a matter of will, it's when. If EA's done it, Ubisoft has done it, Activision's gonna do it. And you know why Destiny 2 is coming to Blizzard, right? It's because Activision owns Blizzard. They're the same company. Don't know why they haven't done it before. But there are others. Yeah. They could start their own publishing platform. You've also got to remember, though, that Sony has them by the balls. You know, with all the marketing deals. Sony markets Activision stuff more than Activision does. More Blizzard IPs brought to Battle.net. Yeah. What is Battle.net? Why do you think they changed its name from BlizzardNet? Why would they do that? Think about it. Blizzard.net implies Blizzard stuff. Battle.net implies competitive multiplayer stuff, such as Destiny. Mystery solved. Simple marketing. And Liam's gonna have an oh my god mind blown moment right now, isn't he? Wait for it. Wait for it. Yeah, the reason they changed it to Battle.net, as we now know with the Destiny thing, is because Blizzard.net implies Blizzard's IPs only. Battle.net implies competitive multiplayer. Woo! Yeah, genuine question. Did you ever think about that before I just brought it up? Now, let's give it 15 more minutes before I pass out. I've been up all day. So if you've got any more questions, you got 15 to 20 minutes. So chop up now. Still love this music. Why are companies continuing to create high APM clickers when it lessens the game's accessibility? I'm just going to look up what that is, because once I know what it is... that doesn't tell me anything. Actions per minute. Hang on, let me... I think I might know... Artificial micromanagement. Okay, could you say clickers? I think it's just the one where you press a button over and over again and it gives you gratification because I see a number going up. Actions per minute. So Supreme Commander could automate and queue most things in the game, yet less games are doing it. So less games, so like say... Oh, so you set a task and it goes and does it. That kind of thing. Are games stopping doing that? Wow, I didn't know they were doing that. Okay. The only RTS I've played is Pikmin, which still automates everything. You tell them to do it and they'll do it. Why are they creating high... Oh, man. Let's think for a sec. I need to think about that. Stuff that requires you to do a lot of things at once, but it makes it less accessible. I might have an idea. Why would you have the feature to automate something like just go in, click, does it, then go off and do something else, when you could put that under a microtransaction? And what happens if you lose those units? How do you get them back? Do you have to pay for it? Because there's always two things. There's two reasons I can think they can do it. The first would be forcing you to babysit units, like you said with StarCraft, and therefore, instead of automating it and off it goes and does it successfully, you have to be there and you have to do everything. And the ability to automate it is something you'd have to pay for. The other side of it is the idea of retention. You could just tell it to go do something and off you go. Make a sandwich, call your grandparents, do that kind of thing. But making you babysit it means more clicks. Means you're actually playing the game longer. You're more inclined to sit there and keep playing it. It's a metric thing, I think. It makes the game look better if you keep playing it for longer. It's a way to keep you playing the game, basically. And or they could monetize it if push comes to shove. They really could. I might have just given someone an idea. Sorry about that. I just gave like EA a horrible idea. We could microtransaction quick travel. I knew it. Oh, that's terrible. Do 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 do. From the economic standpoint, I'm just running it through in my head. It's either so they can microtransaction it later, or keep you playing. Or they could do a really dickish thing. Yeah, you know, I'm everybody's scapegoat. I hate EA. Well, no, I don't. I hate how EA does business sometimes and their reasoning for doing things. Or lack thereof. The other thing they could do is the idea that games as a platform in that updates happen. So imagine if an update came out that added automation. You just spent 6 months playing that game, and as the user base starts to die down, because they have to do the same thing and have to keep going there and have to keep doing it, you can bring that back up again by making it more efficient to play. That's third reason. Efficiency. Give the game legs, as it were. I think I might have just given EA another idea. But yeah, that's to microtransaction it later, to use it as an update feature later, or to just metrics. Which game did the best realistic economic model in? Oh god, okay, this is gonna have to go on games I've played. The concept of being able to buy and sell goods. Which one did barter the best? Not Sonic Unleashed, because that had a glitch where you could spend money and then sell it back to the same guy for more than you paid for it. I don't actually know. Because realistic economics is based on supply and demand. Inside a video game, you cannot have fluid supply and demand. Because when you go to a storefront in a game, there's only ever going to be a set number of things there. And there'll be like a 3-day timer before restocks and stuff like that. But it will always cost the same price, and you'll always be able to sell them for the same thing. Like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. In certain weather conditions, they made arrows cheaper. And based on the scarcity of resources, depending on where you were, some things are more expensive than others. But the sellback price was the same, except for a few NPCs. So, in reality, like, if there was loads of, say, if you had a game where you had to buy arrows and there was loads of them, there was excess supply of them, you would have to reduce the price, realistically. If there was excess supply, you'd reduce the price, so more people would be willing to buy them. And restore equilibrium. But if there's something in really high demand, you'd have to raise the price. But here's the thing. In a video game, it would be really infuriating. Kind of. An actual market is completely fluid. But then you've also got to realise some markets have government influence. You know, MMOs are probably the best way of doing it. But simulating an actual economy outside of a PvP environment is, you're not going to do it. It's too many variables. It's too many different problems, as it were. Within the strategy simulation genre, I don't play a lot of those. Whichever one does supply and demand realistically. Because you can't really do government influence. And you can. It's a really tricky one. Because there's so many... Like, there's the management of supply and demand, and that constant, as Harry knows, that constant clash of having to raise and lower prices based on what's going on. Then there's, like, the problem of monopolies and the government intervention into that and selling of assets and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It depends whichever one. Because economics is such a massive thing. All the things that affect the price of a single good. You know, labour, transportation, materials, marketing, packaging, competitors, competitive pricing, monopolistic pricing, whether or not there's a tax attached to it, like VAT. All these different things would have to be implemented. And I can't think of one off the top of my head. It's an endless, endless cycle. But hey, if you can think of one, by all means, let me know. Yeah, it's such a difficult thing to get, because in a loaf of bread, there's the production of it, there's the people making it, there's the materials, there's buying the materials in bulk, there's the different prices of the materials in bulk, there's the price of other bread, there's the price of own brand bread. Homogeneous good. Is a homogeneous good? Can the price go too high? There's VAT, there's government influence, there's subsidization, there's seasonal factors, like wheat crops, there's what happens if the crop goes. What causes that to go? Why did that happen? Other economies. You know, it's it's an entire 25-mark essay on bread. Yeah, as you can see, to actually realistically portray an economy in a video game, good luck. I couldn't think of a way to start doing it. That'd be a simulation to end all simulations, really. Because you gotta remember, there's microeconomics and macroeconomics. So, microeconomics is just one market. Macroeconomics is wider, global, for example. European economics. Even though you can call the EU its own microeconomy. You know, there's all those different kind of things. And it would be a never-ending cycle of having to constantly... Irrelevant bread video. Enjoy bread. Bread's good. I like wholemeal. Wow, 10 o'clock. Wow, okay. Don't ask me why I know that exists. Don't worry about it. Okay, 10 o'clock. What we're gonna do is we're gonna stop because I've been talking for 2 hours. So thank you, Mentalgen and ladies, for listening, asking questions, making my brain and the gears spin. Give me some actually tricky questions. Well done on that. I'm probably going to end up doing this again at some point. Because you guys seem to really enjoy me talking about economics. So, the next economics session is planned for Tuesday. It might be Wednesday, depends. That's on PR and funding. So, if you want to watch that, that'll be there. Here, I should say. And, yeah. Thanks, guys. This was fun. I enjoyed this. This was good. This is actually really nice. Probably not the best activity. What time? It'll be 7 till 8:30. Or I might do it from 8. It'll either be from 7 or 8. I think that's going to be the time I'm going to do all these kind of things at. I want you guys to know the frames encoded thing at the top of XSplit here says 412,900 frames. 413,000 frames. Non-dropped. 1,409.65 megabytes. You're welcome.